Okay, mics are live.
Okay, I'd like to call the 7 August 2017 Personnel Administrative Affairs Committee to order and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Alderman at Large David Dean.
Here.
Alderman Tom Lopez. I'm here. Alderman Don LeBrun, I am here. Alderman June M. Karen.
And Alderman Clemens is unable to attend. Meeting started at 7 p.m. Also in attendance are the city clerk, Patricia Pietzu, and city tax collector, Dave Fredette. Public comment. Is there anyone here that would like to give public comment? Being none, we'll move on to interviews. And I've asked Sambia C. Halkos and Adelina Hernandez to come down. They're both appointments to the Cultural Connections Committee. And Sambia, if you or Adelina, whomever wants to just give us a little brief, state your name, your address, and your why you have such a willingness to serve on the Cultural Connection Committee. We'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, pull the microphone right up. Is the green light's on, right?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay, pull it right up and you got to talk. There you go.
Oh, okay. My name is Samba Halkos. I work with Adult Learning Center in Nashua, and I'm adult education counselor. I live in Manchester for 22 years. I'm originally from Democratic Republic of Congo, and I would like to work with Culture Connection because I like to volunteer, and I work with Adult Learning Center where Sharon was working, and I'm doing her job. Thank you.
Okay. Adelina?
Hi, my name is Adelina Hernandez, and I'm from Nashua. I've been here since 1980. And I currently work as a navigator, cultural navigators at the Adult Learning Center for one grade of Nashua. And I'm also the interpreter, para-liaison for 2 middle school in Nashua. And the reason I would like to be for Cultural Connection is because I already volunteer with the community, and I will be more than happy to help out even more with the community. Thank you.
You worked for the Nashua School District as an interpreter / translator / parent liaison.
That is correct, for 2 middle school.
I was involved in youth baseball for years, and it was always difficult when you call the house
Yes.
because the child could speak more English than mom and dad or whatever, but it was always nice. We had different folks that were involved with that. But are there any questions by any of the committee members to the candidates? Alderman Karen.
Yes, thank you. May I ask both of you, and you can answer one at a time, what do you think you can do with the Cultural Connection Committee and move it forward so that a lot of people in the community don't know what that is, and what would you bring to that group? Because you have a lot of strengths and abilities to be part of that committee.
Who wants that one first? I don't see you arguing over it.
Yeah. Well, being part of the community already, I wanted to be more involved in how we can work together as United and make our city even better, and how ideas can be gathered together just to make it better for our national community.
Thank you.
Yes, as bilingual, I speak 4 languages: French, Swahili, and Lingala. Added English. And the community in Nashua, the newcomers, they need somebody who can translate and help them to understand better the system in Nashua, especially in the United States. And Culture Connection, that will help me to connect with the community, the people who doesn't speak well English, and they usually come to Adult Learning Center like their nice place, the place they usually start with, and I can let them know and help Culture Connection to connect with those people.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alderman Lopez.
There was a couple months ago a comment made in the Cultural Connections Committee that before information could be taken further regarding an activity they were trying to do, they wanted to make sure that they checked with the members of the minority communities and really checked with the people who were leaders among them. And I remember pointing out that if someone looked around the table at the Cultural Connections Committee, they would see a lot of leaders in the minority communities. I happen to know both of you are involved yourselves in those communities. So with what Alderman Karen was saying in terms of being an ambassador back to your community and bringing more people out into the city, helping them better understand the city services, what is your experience with the Cultural Connections Committee, and have you gone to other city committees and other city departments so that you can be that ambassador?
I used to be an ambassador where I was going to school in Manchester Community College, and I was the leader in my community in Manchester as a Congolese women in Manchester. I was the leader. And here with the culture connection, I'll try to bring up what I did in Manchester, to bring up in culture connection, because I'm new, I'm still learning. And with the navigator, we see that we have a need in the community, the newcomer especially, to help them to understand, and culture connection, I will try to understand better what they are doing, and I can bring my experience from my university and my community in Manchester. I'll bring it back to the connection. I love to work with people. I'm a community leader. I don't like to see people suffer because they need help, especially the referral, where to go, what to do, and when there is activity, they need to somebody to explain to them what's going on in a city. I think I answer your question. Thank you.
Basically, being in part of the Culture Connection, I have learned. I've been participating in meetings, and I have learned what you guys do on every meeting that you guys have. And one of the unique things that I like more is basically what you're trying to do for the city, what you're trying to make it better, and how we can come and be involved. I haven't been anywhere else. I haven't been, because I've been living here in Nashua. And basically, this is where I want to grow, and I want to help the community and provide my time to help everyone understand how Nashua works and what we can help to help others.
Alderman Lopez.
Just to clarify, I think the minority community is typically looked at as a community that's in need. My opinion is in Nashua, the minority community is a huge opportunity for Nashua to bring diverse leaders and organizers into a city that needs more help in every direction. We can always use more people coming to meetings, sharing input on what's going on in their community. We can always use more people who are willing to step up and show others the way. So that's what I'm hoping you two intend to do on the Cultural Connections Committee. I know the Adult Learning Center is particularly well known for having a very diverse clientele and empowering a lot of younger leaders. And I know the One Greater Nashua and the Cultural Navigator group is another way to bridge the community so that we're one community.
And that's what we expect to do, to make it as a one community and work together and bring other leadership to the community as well.
There you go.
Yep,
You
that's
happy
a
with
pretty
that
good answer.
Are there any other questions of the two candidates? Thank you very much for your willingness to serve. We will be taking up your appointments later on in the meeting. You can hang around and wait to see the outcome of it, or you can walk away into the unknown. That's up to you, what you want to do with your time. Your appointment confirmation will not be tomorrow night. It would be at the following Board of Aldermen meeting. I don't know what the date is, but you'd be asked to come and appear to be sworn in to serve on the Cultural Connections Committee, if you're lucky enough to be an affirmative recommendation from this committee, and I have a feeling you will be. So, and I'd like to thank you for your willingness to give the city your free time. It's very much appreciated. We have a lot of different committees with a lot of volunteers, such as yourselves, that are willing to step up. And that's what makes Nashua a nice place to live, having folks like you that are willing to give of yourself. So thank you very much for attending this evening.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you, Ms. Kleiner, for coming. Next on the agenda is communications.
Communication from Patricia D. Piehu, City Clerk. Warrant to be committed to Chief of Police for unlicensed dogs. Referred to Committee 6/27/2017.
And we have the city clerk here this evening if she'd like to come and join us and give us an update on the delinquent dog licenses in the community. And
Good evening, Mr. Chair and honorable committee members. So to give you an update, when we did the memo to the Board of Aldermen on June 21st, at that point in time, we had 1,599 owners and 1,994 dogs that were unlicensed. As of today, that number has dropped considerably. We have only 983 owners and 1,208 dogs. So we've dropped 616 owners and 786 dogs from June 21st to now. We are not assessing the civil forfeiture fine for the dogs for this current licensing year. We are still picking up the civil forfeiture fees for last year's dogs because they have to bring them current before licensing them for this year.
so out of the previous 1,600 owners, those 1,600 owners owned almost 2,000 dogs.
Correct.
I didn't know if you were licensing some of the owners, but, and now, how much money has the city spent notifying these people?
Well, the good part is, thanks to a couple of years ago, we were able to start collecting email addresses. We're looking at going away from this system we're on currently, the admin system. We were originally going to look at the licensing permitting software, but we're not due to do that till sometime next year. So we are looking at Interware, which is a company that's going to be coming in, and they're currently licensed dogs, so we can do it through online. But we were very fortunate to start collecting email addresses. We had a few bumps in the road on that, so we've been able to email out the 4,800 dogs this year and then mailed out almost 6,300 dogs. So you figure if the 49 cents times that. We then send out the postcard reminders in May, just as a reminder to do it. And the reason why we do this is we don't want to assess that fine if we don't have to. This year we had shouldn't say downtime, but I decided prior to bringing the civil forfeiture list, because it's so expensive to mail out the civil forfeitures, to do phone calls. So we did some phone calls. And out of the phone calls, 99% of the people were very appreciative. Oh my God, I forgot. Yep, I had it on my mind. We had a couple that were very upset. I'm not going to license my dog. How do you know I have a dog? But it's hard to put into what the fees are really that we have spent. I haven't looked at those numbers altogether.
How do you know I have a dog? Well, you got a license for it before and I got your phone number. I mean,
Well, some people, it's their very first time licensing, and that's because the vets are required by law to send us rabies for any owners of dogs that live in the city of Nashua within 45 days after the vaccination.
so is a civil forfeiture fine, how much is that?
The civil forfeiture fine is a $25 civil forfeiture fine, and the $7 cost of service is $32. And that's where we recoup a little bit of money as far as dealing with the dogs and everything like that and sending out the notices.
And how many pieces of mail came back returned to sender?
I don't have that number, but the thing of it is whether it's through the emails that we send out, which dog licensing information is protected and confidential under the right to know law. Nobody calls up and says, I find a dog. We can't give them that customer's information. So we have to then contact them. So we have right now a pretty good system in place and everything like that in sending out the notices, but we just need to now get these people in compliance. A lot of them are pretty good about it. They're coming in now and licensing, happy they don't have to pay the fine, but
So instead of imposing this fine and going through the cost of it, do you want to wait and see if we get more people that are showing willingness to license their dogs, or?
the only problem with that is we're already out of compliance with the law. I know that in the past, last year, I looked at this, and where I was down 3 staff, I was not able to do this. And I did some research to see when the last time this came before the board, and it was been quite a while, so.
1990 what?
I think,
1980 what?
no, I think it was like in 2002. I think I saw a letter that came to it went to the mayor and everything. I don't know if it ended up coming to the board regarding the dogs, because this is supposed to be done in the month of June. And I think the reason why sometimes it wasn't done with staffing levels in the office and everything like that, because the civil forfeitures have gone out, because we have collected revenue. Matter of fact, last year's revenue was over $12,000 for civil forfeitures. For people that hadn't licensed their dog. Some of that civil forfeiture money may also be for nuisance offenses or where the dog officer's gone out, because we have our list of dogs that are not registered, where we send the letters. So the way that the law is written, it's committed to the chief and his or her designee, which will end up being the city clerk's office. We do have the dog officer who does go out and can issue right on the spot the civil forfeiture fine, and he has done that for us. But he also issues out the nuisance offense if somebody's dog's running at large, if it bites somebody. So some of that civil forfeiture money also is those fees and fines as well.
What happens if the people move or the dog dies, or?
If they notify us, we remove them. And that's within the email. Matter of fact, we set up a special email. It's nashwadogs@nh.gov, so that it went inundate the city clerk email, so that if they call, they don't have to present a death certificate or anything like that. If they call us and let them know that the pet has passed, they moved, we update the account and remove them.
Can you license your dog online?
Not at this time.
See, that's a problem.
That is correct.
Little towns that surround us have that.
That is correct, and that's why we're looking at changing it. Like I said, the licensing permitting software that's coming in that went out to bid and everything, with that program, because our dog licensing laws are very strict, that program would have to be written from scratch. So we're looking at going with the company, possibly Interware, who currently has this program out there. That's right now who we use for eBay to Gov. If you look online right now, when we pay motor vehicle fines, wastewater, and parking tickets, it's all through that company and everything. That's who we're looking for. So we're hoping to bring that in and doing something with that, so that next year, in 2018, we'll be able to offer our citizens to be able to pay online.
Does anybody have any questions about this? Alderman Karen.
Thank you. So what happens, you're looking at previous years not licensing their dogs. So after 2 years, what happens? If they don't license their dog for 2 years, do you just take them off the books, or do you assume that the dog has passed away or they've moved, or how do you reconcile that?
So as far as that goes, what happens is right now people are paying and licensing their dogs for 2016 and 2017. We haven't started charging the 2017 and 2018 civil forfeiture fee. Once we do that, we will negate the 2016 to 2017 civil forfeiture fee and only charge them that one fee for this fine for this year. They'll still have to license the previous dogs. They will continue to stay on, because if they don't pay the the civil forfeiture fee within $15, we can issue them a summons to appear in court. And then that summons is delivered by the police department to their abode and for them to appear in court.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Didn't know that. Thank you.
So basically, we got to comply with the law. Alderman LeBrun.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I spoke with the animal control officer, which we only have one recently, and he told me that in order for him to do his job, the best he could do would be to contact 3 people per day, and usually he couldn't even contact that many. With these numbers, it would take him 231 days to contact the 692 delinquents, if that's what he had to contact. That's basically 40 weeks out of the year.
So he wouldn't be contacting them directly. We would be sending them letters. The civil forfeiture is a letter that we mail out to them, stating that they are now within the civil forfeiture fine and they have to pay it within the 15-day period. Normally, we stretch that out anyways, because the fact is we need to give still people time. I know that we have not done summonses for a while. I would say probably about 7 years. I've only been with the office for just now my 10th year, almost 10 years. And I know that the court has changed their summons because it's something we used to have to hand type up and then have him deliver it. And if he was out in the road in that area, he would deliver it. I don't know how the police chief will handle that portion of that when we come to that. We will have to look into the courts to see whether or not how their summons process has changed.
Thank you.
What's the cost of licensing a dog?
To license a dog, if the owner is a senior citizen, they're allowed one dog, which is 65 or older. They're allowed one dog at $3. All the other dogs have to be at the other rates. So if a dog has been neutered or spayed, it's $7.50. If it has not been neutered or spayed, if it's unaltered, it would be $10. And then if you have 5 or more dogs, you qualify for what we call a group license, and it would be $20 for the 5 dogs, 5 or more.
And what's it cost to send out these summons?
That I don't know because we haven't done them in, like I said, quite a few years.
If it's more than $10, and the city's paying for that, so how much, do you have money budgeted for that?
For the civil forfeitures, we have carried the money over from last year to this year to have the money reserved for the civil forfeiture
How much
mailing.
money do you have, how many civil forfeitures can you cover with the money that you've escrowed?
I'll be able to cover them all.
So if we don't do this, we're not in compliance with state law.
That's correct.
Is that what you're telling us?
That is correct.
And these people should, if they have dogs, they have to be responsible and license the things, so. It's like your car, if you don't go down and register it, then, you know, you pay a penalty when the policeman pulls you over and sees your tags are not right, so. Are there any other questions? So I'll move to accept, place on file, and recommend the Board of Aldermen commit the warrant to the Chief of Police. Discussion on that motion. Being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Application to license hawkers, peddlers, and vendors licenses. There are none. Appointments by the mayor. Is there a motion?
Motion to recommend the confirmation of the following. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Alderman
Yeah.
LeBrun.
Motion to recommend the confirmation of the following mayoral appointments to the Cultural Connections Committee, Samba Halcos and Adelina Hernandez, for terms to expire July 30th, 2020, and to the Nashua Arts Commission, Allison Bankowski, for a term to expire April 1st, 2020.
You've all heard the motions or discussion on the motion? Being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Ladies, the mayor's office will be contacting you with a date and time for you to come down and be sworn in. Okay? You're free to go and enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you very much for coming. Thanks, Kim. Unfinished business? There is none. New business resolutions? There is none. New business ordinances? 017-040, authorizing payment of property taxes by credit card or debit card. Credit or debit card. Is there a motion? I'd like to ask Mr. Fredette to come up. Is there a motion for the sake of discussion, or do you want to wait till? You want to wait till afterwards?
Let's,
Okay.
yeah, because I
That's not a problem. Treasurer Fredette.
Squeaky chair.
Would you like to give us an overview of?
Yes, Thank you, Mr. Chairman. David Fredette, City Treasurer, Tax Collector. As the resolution stated, we started this program in 2009. We were the first community in the state to start accepting online payments for motor vehicle, and we were soon followed by Manchester and Concord. Now it's at least half the communities in the state do that. At that time, we had decided, the Board of Aldermen had decided not to allow credit card or debit cards for taxes, but for everything else. And since then, the program has grown considerably to it. Over the last year, we have collected about $5.5 million through the credit debit card program in the city. Majority still at the Financial Services Division, motor vehicle, lease parking, parking tickets, and wastewater, but other departments do use it. The landfill, park rec, assessing, city clerk, over the counter. They use the debit credit card program. Over the years, we've been asked many times by customers why they can't pay their property taxes on a credit or debit card, and we have to inform them that right now it's currently not allowed, but hopefully one day we can get that changed. The communities that use this program all take credit and debit cards for property taxes. We are the only community that does not, as far as I know. So that's why the resolution is here tonight.
Questions? Alderman LeBrun.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a problem with credit cards being used for property taxes. It just seems to me that it's a way for people to pay a bill and then turn around and pay interest, more than likely pay interest on that bill. I think we're the wiser ones for not allowing this. A debit card I can understand, but not a credit card.
Well, it's a person's choice.
Just a thought.
Alderman Lopez.
So I was looking at this, and I kind of raised my eyebrows at the credit card, too. I know people probably don't pay their property taxes in cash anymore, and it might be a difficulty for someone to wait for a check to clear if it has to go through, city departments and all that. So debit card made a lot of sense to me. I was a little taken aback by the credit card, but that's mostly because I don't know anybody who has a credit card who could pull that off. In thinking about it, I guess it might even be a benefit to someone who does have the credit card volume if they planned on immediately paying it off anyway, and they could have paid it with a debit card. They could use their credit card and maybe get airline miles or cashback reward or something. I don't know enough about every individual taxpayer's personal financial situation. I know I will probably never pay my property taxes by credit card, but I mean, having the functional ability to do it, if it's something that other cities do and it hasn't, created an obvious and visible failure of society, I kind of think offering them, other people, the opportunity to pay however is most appropriate to them is just something we should do.
Alderman LeBrun.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We would never know if it caused someone problems. That information would not come back. The only thing that would the city would be aware of is that they paid their bill. Their personal credit card company is the only one that would know if they defaulted on it.
Alderman Lopez.
I think everybody who has a student loan is pretty public about, oh, I'm getting this much and I have to pay this much. So I actually kind of think that the public might come up forward and complain if this happened a lot. I think if it happens occasionally, somebody makes a bad decision and it's on their credit record and they have to pay it off, then that might stay private. So I was only speaking to the general public. It doesn't seem like this is something that is creating large waves of discontent. There's probably somebody who's going to get hurt by it because they make a bad decision.
Treasurer Fredette, did you have?
It's my understanding, based on what I hear at conferences and so forth, is that people who are using credit cards aren't people who are in financial straits. They're using them because they want the points.
Mm-hmm.
So.
If they're allowed, right? If they're institution that gives them the card allows them to do that. I mean, some banks won't let you pay your mortgage with a credit card. A lot of banks won't.
As far as I know, credit cards do allow taxes to be paid, at least the big ones.
Well, it's like anything else. I mean, you have to know your limitations with your credit. I mean, my feeling is I think people should be given the opportunity to pay their bills however they want to pay them. I mean, Alderman Karen?
I think about that too, taxes with your credit or debit card, but in today's society, credit cards and debit cards seem to be the norm. I'm a person that still writes checks, and people look at you like you got two heads, you know, when you go in to buy groceries.
Down at the
and
bright spot, right now.
That's right, that's right. So, you know, I think that if it works in other communities and people are asking for it, then I think we should consider that. And we just talked about dog licenses being done online. So a lot of people, the
I'm kinda
credit
shocked
card
that
is
we
the
don't
thing
do
to
that.
do it. Yeah.
Talk about being in the Stone Age. You know, people,
Mr. Chairman, I really think, just based on my experience over the years, that you're going to find the quantity of people that do it is going to be very small.
and then if you're paying bi-yearly, the average property tax bill is what?
Let's say 5,500, around there.
So it's not the $1,000 line on the credit cards, it's the people that have credit cards with $10,000 lines that are gonna be, that already have established credit, that are gonna be utilizing them to pay off $2,000 to $3,000 at a whack. But, is there any other discussion? Is there a motion? Alderman Lopez.
I make a motion to recommend final passage of City Ordinance 017-040.
Motion by Alderman Lopez is to recommend final passage of ordinance 17-040. Discussion on that. Being none, all those in favor, I'm sorry. Alderman LeBrun.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I still believe that past aldermanic councils probably were the wiser in denying this, and therefore I will be voting against it.
Further discussion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed?
Aye, or no?
That motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Fredette.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
I will.
Thank you,
And
sir.
I think the rest of us will as well. So, is there a discussion? Is there any discussion? There's no need for a non-public. Remarks by members of the committee. Alderman Karen.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, she's adjourning. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. And Alderman Lopez, did you have anything, any comments?
Non-debatable, I'm out.
Alderman LeBrun? Okay, Alderman Karen, do you have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Alderman Karen is to adjourn at 7:34 PM. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we are adjourned. Thank you very much for coming.